I don't even think it's the closing of a chapter. I think it's the closing of a book.
What I love about this building, tell me what else looks like this in all of Colorado, let alone Greeley.
It was such a well-known building.
Yes.
The customers
Yes.
would come
in. Oh, this was a bank. I was here when it was a bank.
Yeah.
I remember when it was United Bank building too. I didn't bank there, but I remember it, as that building.
But I interviewed for the Norm Dean Scholarship, and Norm Dean was the president of United Bank at the time.
Norm Dean, his goal was that he wanted this to be a welcoming space and all of that.
And then how many years later, I come back and I'm assistant city manager, and I'm sitting in that office the first day and have this deja vu. Like, I've been in this office before. And
At first it was like, well, that's an interesting building, and kind of learning to navigate the roundness of it.
I always remembered this building as a bank because when I was a little girl, my grandma would bring me here, and we would climb up the Waco stairway, and we would walk up there, and as a little girl, like looking over, it was just
Awesome.
yeah.
I remember looking at great cabinets that had been built in there and things like that. And there was this one that you'd pull out as kind of a drawer, and I go, oh, man, back in the day, I bet this is where the whiskey was.
I always thought it was a really cool building. I love the architecture. It's just so unique, and it just, it was so easy to tell people, and you've probably heard this from everybody, the round building. Just go to the round building.
Or just go to the round building. They can
Yes.
tell if
The round
somebody,
building. That's right.
If somebody was lost, they would come here.
Well, this is going to be hard for me not to have this iconic building to look at.
I don't even think it's the building. It was more about the experiences and the people.
And it's partly because it was my home for 10 years.
We lived here. This was like our second home, 5 days out of the week, and sometimes more.
And the customers loved to come in and sit with the people they were here to meet.
Sometimes we would babysit because
Yeah.
folks would get
Yes.
distracted.
Yeah.
Parents would get distracted, paying a bill or asking questions.
And then there were the occasional weddings too that were out.
Yes.
I
I
remember a couple of them at least that were around the fountain. And
I do too.
So
I
it was
forgot
just
about
those
that.
moments that were just like.
Ultimately, a city hall is the people that work in it, the relationships that they have in a common purpose, and then how do they go out and build relationships in the community.
I always wanted to do grand things for myself and for Greeley. Banks were looking to do community events
Sure.
and bring people into their doors. We present the idea to Norm Dean, the president. Yes, we will do this show.
Awesome.
And we will pay the expense. The circular form was really fun. Later on, we even called it the Little Guggenheim of the West because, it's a round building, the Guggenheim. I've never been to the Guggenheim, but I understand it's a round building.
Do you remember when we had the flood?
Friday, July
Friday,
13th.
July
Friday
13th.
the 13th in July 2001.
We literally did a human chain so we could lay out records to dry, but we also tried to set it up in a way that we could still retrieve records for departments who were still doing,
But we're
their work and their
downstairs
business.
in water like this.
It was crazy, but what I remember about that time is this space ended up being like a huddle space for like Leonard to call everybody together, and here's what we're
There's
going to
like
do.
naps on there because we were all working 24 hours.
Yeah.
But
Oh
it
my
was
God.
just like the whole building just came together.
That's where I look about the fabric of people. That's what the building, members to me, and that was the toughest part about leaving.
I think when this building's gone, people are going to miss it.
We knew when I was city manager that we're eventually going to need to have a new city hall.
I think we're going to lose our hometown feeling, and we're going to start to become a more modern city.
You're going to get to a point where now the bricks, the mortar of this building are obviously going to be demolished, but ultimately a city hall is the people that work in it, the relationships that they have in a common purpose, and then how do they go out and build relationships in the community.
It was just really nice to have them care for us in what we were doing so much to house this show.
So it's going to be a change, but our community's seen a lot of changes. It's a combination of sadness and excitement, anticipation, honor the past, and embrace change, and figure out where your role is and what your part is, and keeping Greeley the great community it is.